Hello everyone, hope you're having a fantastic day so far. Welcome to the first week of the PCBL Season 7. My name is Strompfel, I am the coach for the Mt Silver Mences, and for the premiere of the PCBL, we're actually going up against my good friend Isaac and his Solaceon Glaceon. If you're interested to know what team we actually ended up drafting, there is a draft analysis uploaded on my channel. It is actually the video prior to this. You can just go into my channel, click on the next latest video, and you will just find that out. I'll just warn you real quick, it's a 40-minute video, and if you're not interested to just sit down for 40 minutes and hear a Swedish person talk about Pokemon, then that might not be the video for you. But you'll see some of the Pokemon being used today, or, well, tomorrow, because this is actually the team builder for the battle that's going up tomorrow. But, yes, the first opponent we have for the season is actually Isaac. If you don't know, Isaac is actually one of my best friends, if not my best friend, both in Pokemon and in real life. Another Swedish guy. He's absolutely fantastic. He's a very good battler, very aggressive one. He pulls a lot of good switches. He makes a lot of aggressive plays, and he is actually kind of toxic to his opponent if he doesn't know them. Shoutouts to Retardation compilation. I'm just kidding. Isaac is he's a humble guy off camera, but when he's getting into his mood, he can actually be quite aggressive. But I don't think that will be too much of a problem in this battle. But Isaac is it's also his first season in the PCBL, so the stakes are pretty high. Both of us want to perform pretty well in our debut in the PCBL, and the other thing with Isaac is the fact that I team build with him, I mock with him, I pretty much hang out with him all the time, so we both know how the other person will prep and play, which is quite it's quite difficult, I'd say, to make a good team versus Isaac in that aspect, because you know he knows how I will play, he knows how I will prep, and I know how he will play and how he will prep. This is usually a situation which you get later down in the season when you face off against a person for the second time, like a rematch in a playoffs game or something. But we actually face off against someone like that the first week, which is quite weird, because you know we haven't really tried out our team, we don't know the weaknesses, we don't know the strengths and stuff like that. So this will actually be quite interesting. It's actually the first time this has happened to me, but yeah, this is going to be interesting for sure. If you're new to my channel, if you don't know how I usually team build or how I show my team building process, I'll just go over that real quickly. First of all, we dive into the matchup, see some strengths, some weaknesses we have against the opposing roster, and then we dive right into the team building, where you will see the Pokemon. I'll talk a little bit about it, and you'll see a little box to your right where I do have my EV spreads, or my explanation to my EV spreads. I usually tend to put a box instead of talking about it, because that will save some time. But without further ado, let's dive right into the matchup that we have versus my man Isaac. Okay, so looking at the team that the Solaceon Glaceon has constructed, we can see that my man Isaac has picked up Mega Beedrill, Azumarill, Rotom, Mo Edition, Azelf, Crocodile, Tornadus, Therian for my good old Pokemon that I miss so much. I actually wish I had it on the season, even though I have a bunch of flying types. Tornadus can also always be slapped on a team. Doublade, Fortress, Tyrantrum, Primate, Flareon, and of course his mascot pick being the Glaceon. You can see my team on the left. Of course, I have the Mega Arrow, Kieran Black, etc, etc, etc. But looking at Isaac's team, he has actually created a very offensive draft, which is quite good. You know, many people has actually criticized Isaac for this draft. They don't think it's that good. I couldn't disagree more. I think this team is absolutely fantastic, especially since it kind of fits Isaac's playstyle pretty much perfectly. It is a very offensive draft with a lot of hard hitters like Mega Beedrill. He has Tornadus, he has a Tyrantrum, he has an Azumarill, a lot of Pokemon that you can't really switch into. And coupled with that, he has a lot of Volt Turn. Isaac loves clicking Volt Switch and U-Turn whenever he can, because he likes grabbing the momentum, he likes pull aggressive double switches, so having the Tornadus to regain health with the Regenerator is absolutely fantastic. I actually like Isaac's team a lot more than I do think a lot other people do. With an offensive draft, with a lot of Volt Turn, there are of course some weaknesses. First of all, Mega Aerodactyl is absolutely fantastic. It just chews offensive drafts in general, and there's no exception with this team. If you look at his team, the only real check he has to Mega Aerodactyl is actually the Fortress. Doublade can be a soft check, but if that gets worn down, you know, it doesn't really have the best recovery. And even though it is a Fortress, a lot of my team capitalizes on that, so I actually don't think it's going to bring the Fortress, because it gives Volcarona free setup, it gives my Thunders free free setup, it gives my Reuniclus free setup. It just gets absolutely smacked around by my Kyurem Black, and Tapu Fini can even 1v1 it. Speaking of Tapu Fini, if you look at hazard support, he does have some hazard support, Defog Tornadus, Rapid Spin Fortress, and Defog Rotom Mow, but he can only get up rocks with the Crocodile and the Fortress, and my Tapu Fini can actually beat kind of both of them. You know, Crocodile is weak to my dual stab, and Fortress can't really do that much. I can just defog away all the hazards he tries to set up. So in the like hazard stacking war, or the hazard war in general, I do think I do have the advantage just because I have the Tapu Fini, which is why I picked it up, of course. Looking at some other Pokemon on his draft, Isaac loves sweeping opponents with priority, which is why you see an Azumarill and a Doublade on his draft. He's very good at sweeping opponents with priority as well, so we do need to focus a lot on preventing both the Azumarill and the Doublade from 1, getting the free setup, and 2, actually smacking my team around with the Shadow Sneak or the Azumarill, Azumarill's Aqua Jet. Because, you know, if they manage to get the setup they need to, they can just clean my team without me being able to do anything. I can't outspeed them. I don't have that much priority on my team, so I can't really out-prioritize them, so that is actually a big problem. But last thing I want to mention is that Isaac doesn't really have the best electric check on his team. He does have a Crocodile, and he does have a Tyrantrum, but Tyrantrum has piss poor special defense, and Crocodile can actually be 1-hit KO'd or 2-hit KO'd by my Thunders, depending on the coverage moves that I choose. So Thunders is looking incredibly good versus my man. Yeah, Thunders is looking incredibly good. I really do think that it will be an MVP in this matchup, but that's pretty much all I have to say for the matchup. I do think I have a pretty good matchup versus Isaac, but I think he has some aspects on his draft that can be very good against me. So that's all I have to say right now, so let's go right into the team that we are bringing versus Isaac. So, the first Pokemon that we're bringing to the matchup will of course be the Mega Aerodactyl, since I mentioned in the matchup that Mega Aerodactyl just destroys offensive drafts, and this draft is no exception. We're bringing a pretty like bulky offensive Mega Aerodactyl with the main objective to be like a nuisance and also dish out a bunch of damage. We do have the Earthquake, the Wing Attack, the Pursuit, and the Roost. So Mega Aerodactyl's job in this matchup is actually to do some damage, but also tank some hits from a certain amount of Pokemon. If you missed my draft analysis, I mentioned that Mega Aerodactyl can actually be pretty bulky if invested correctly, and this is actually Exhibit A of my statements. Mega Aerodactyl in this matchup is actually a great switch into the Mega Beedrill. I resist the dual stab and the coverage moves in like Knockoff and U-turn, Knockoff and Drill Run and stuff like that. So I pretty much can switch in on the Mega Beedrill all day. Also, Tornadus Therian can't really do that much to me, since my my typing Rock and Flying pretty much resist all of its like normal coverage moves in like Hurricane, Heat Wave, Knockoff, and U-turn. Maybe occasionally the Sludge Wave, and the worst thing it can do is actually the Icy Wind or the Hidden Power Ice. And I'm not really too worried about that. The Earthquake is of course to hit the Tyrantrum, and the Doublade Wing Attack is actually pretty spammable against my opponent's team. The only resist he actually has is the Doublade and the Tyrantrum, and neither of those actually wants to take an Earthquake. And the Pursuit is quite a cool tech that I have on this Aerodactyl. It is actually aimed to one, Pursuit trap the Mega Beedrill, who can actually kill it with rocks being up. And the second thing is actually to Pursuit trap the Azelf, because Azelf can be a pretty big threat towards my team. I don't really bring a good Psychic-Wrist in this battle. You'll see I do not actually end up bringing Reuniclus, which is quite unfortunate. But, you know, I couldn't really bring Reuniclus with my opponents having a Crocodile and a Doublade. And like Tornadus and Tyrantrum and Fortress, like there's so many things that just stops Reuniclus that I couldn't really find a set that I wanted to bring. But so this will actually be my Azelf counter, because I do feel like a Scarf Azelf will come. So as you can see on your right side, I can actually take a Psyshock and a Psychic, and now I can take two Psyshocks and two Psychics without a problem. I can just Pursuit trap the little Azelf. Of course, I do have the Rooster as well, because Mega Aerodactyl is a very valuable Pokemon in this matchup, and this can actually be chipped down pretty easily if I'm not playing too carefully with it. So having the ability to just come in on like a Tornadus or a Mega Beedrill, roost out the damage, and then switch in on a later time will be very important. Next up is a pretty big roadblock to all of Isaac's physical Pokemon in Savoy, the Amoonguss, coming in clutch in week number 1 already. So, you know, all of the Pokemon that I am mainly worried about, like Mega Beedrill, Azumarill for sure, Crocodile is a big threat, Doublade is a very big threat, and of course Tyrantrum is a very, very big threat as well. All of those actually kind of struggle to deal with my Amoonguss. The main way he can actually deal with Amoonguss is the special attackers like Tornadus in itself, and both of those can't really break my Mega Aerodactyl. So those two kind of functions great as a defensive pair. With the Amoonguss, I do of course have the Rocky Helmet, because I want to switch in and pivot on like Mega Beedrill, maybe the Crocodile, and maybe the Doublade as well. We do have the Foul Play, Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, and the Synthesis. And as you can see, I do not have the Clear Smog, which might come back to bite me since I do face up against an Azumarill. But you know, I do have some other strategies to deal with the Belly Drum Azumarill later on, so you will see that. Foul Play is of course very nice to check the Doublade. As you can see, I do carry some speed. You can see on your right side I am speed creeping the Doublade, so if he doesn't have any speed, which I don't expect him to have, I can actually come in as Doublade goes for a Swords and I can just foul play that and just knock it out. I do have the Sludge Bomb and the Giga Drain, pretty good coverage against his team actually. He doesn't have the best grass resist, and all of the Pokemon that wants to take a grass hit is actually not taking a Sludge Bomb too well. And since this is of course to regain some health, Regenerator will be very nice to switch in and out, let him take some Rocky Helmet damage and just let me recover some health. And as you can see, I do not carry Spore this week because my next Pokemon will actually prevent Isaac from falling asleep. And if anything, I do think Tornadus might be carrying the safety goggles just to avoid being put to sleep by Amoonguss. So I didn't really see a point in bringing Spore, but Amoonguss will function great either way, even though it can't put my opponent to sleep. And here we have the Pokemon that will prevent my Amoonguss from just spreading the joy and just putting everything to sleep, which is Tapu Oskis, the Tapu Fini. Shout out to my man Oscar in Team Slask. Really humble guy, I absolutely enjoy playing with him. But this Tapu Fini is very important for the matchup. As you can see, we're running quite a mixed defensive spread, mainly on the special side, but also I do have some physical bulk, a very speedy variant of course. We do have the leftovers because regaining health is very important, and of course Defog is the name of the game because Tapu Fini will actually be able to beat Crocodile 1v1 and absolutely defog away all Fortress hazards like 10 out of 10 times. The only thing Fortress can do is like Electrium Z, but you know, it's an Electrium Z and it's a Fortress. I don't expect that to happen. We do have the Haste, the Taunt, and the Moonblast as the other moves on my Fini. And this is mainly because Azumarill is a big threat. Azumarill is a giant threat, even though I have an Amoonguss, a like speedy Azumarill with knockoff can definitely deal with that. I'll definitely try and switch into Amoonguss first to see if it is a choice band variant. If I don't see a boosting item like a choice band, I will be going into Tapu Fini all the other times, because if it is like a perish trapping set of Azumarill, can be very annoying, which is why I do have Taunt. The main idea is to come in on the Whirlpool, come in on the Perish Song, something like that, and just taunt it, prevent it from actually dealing with my Tapu Fini. Haste is of course for the Belly Drum, which is why I don't carry Clear Smog on my Amoonguss, because I do feel like Tapu Fini is a little bit better on checking or offensively checking the Azumarill, because you know Amoonguss can be taken out by like a +6 knockoff, but Tapu Fini will not go down to a +6 Aqua Jet, which is why Haste is much better. And then of course we do have the Moonblast, because Moonblast is quite spammable against my opponent. He does have the Doublade, he does have the Fortress, and he does have the Mega Beedrill as resist, but none of those actually want to take a Moonblast. Well, Fortress does, but I can capitalize on Fortress quite well with my draft, so I'm not really too scared about it. But Tapu Fini, very important, can function as a taunt check, can function as an all-around good check to some Pokemon. Depending on the matchup, I will definitely try and make my Tapu Fini check something, depending on what I feel is necessary. But yeah, Tapu Fini will be important. Really excited to try this out again. So yeah, let's move into the next Pokemon. So moving right along, we do have a potential win con versus Isaac's team, and definitely a major threat towards its entire roster, which is going to be Boston the Volcarona. And if anyone is curious why I do nickname my Pokemon like I do, they are heavily inspired by either music that I listen to, like Boston, or friends that I have, like Tapu Oskis. And yeah, if anyone says that my taste in music is bad, like Boston is real shit, they'll get a quick one of these, and then next up they will get one of these. I'm just kidding, you can have your own taste in music, I won't judge you, but yeah, just that was a complete sidetrack. Volcarona this week is going to hold a Passion Berry with a Quiver Dance, Giga Drain, Flamethrower, and Bug Buzz. Just a pure set of Volcarona if I can get to +1. His team really struggles to deal with this. His main way to deal with this is actually priority, mainly in the Azumarill. He can think that Azumarill will be a complete check to Volcarona, just come in and just Aqua Jet and just kill me from full. But that's not going to happen since I do hold the Passion Berry, and Passion Berry reduces super effective damage from a water type attack, which means that I can actually take the Aqua Jet relatively well. Originally, I had a slower, bulky Volcarona, but I actually decided to bump up the speed to outspeed the Scarf Crocodile. And even though I do think that Crocodile should come as some sort of like support with bulky variant, the risk versus reward wasn't really that big. So I decided to bump up the speed to almost max speed and then just have the rest in bulk and special attack, physical bulk that is. We do of course have the 3 attacks plus Quiver Dance set. I can Quiver Dance up on some Pokemon of his team, not his entire team. Because some Pokemon just deters Volcarona from Zelda, like Head Smashing Tyrantrum that will KO like 5 Volcaronas, Tornadoes, Hurricanes me into the next dimension, as Al can carry like rock coverage. I don't know, I don't think it gets rock coverage, but Azumarill definitely cannot set up on that. Beedrill actually does way too much to me, and it can actually poison me with a poison jab. So there are some Pokemon like Fortress, definitely Doublade, Rotom-Mow, Crocodile in some scenarios if I have scattered out the moveset, but there are some Pokemon I get to set up on. I needed all 3 coverage moves in the Giga Drain, of course, for the Azumarill, Flamethrower just for his entire team, and then Bug Buzz to actually OHKO the Tyrantrum. Otherwise, Tyrantrum could just come in and just revenge kill me and head smash me into the next game. But yeah, Volcarona is definitely a very big threat and doesn't even need to set up to be a giant threat towards his team. So yeah, super excited for this Pokemon. I think it's going to do really, really good. Next up we got ourselves another Pokemon that Isaac has a pretty hard time dealing with in my Thundurus Therian form. My boy Rudimental making his debut on my roster. I'm super excited to try this Pokemon out. Isaac has a tendency to have a pretty hard time with dealing with electric types, so you know he does have the immunity in his Crocodile, he does have a resist in the Rotom-Mow and the Tyrantrum, but other than that, Thundurus just smacks his entire team, and especially coupled with the U-turn, being able to grab the momentum on the Crocodile, on the Rotom-Mow, or on the Tyrantrum will be awesome. And Tyrantrum isn't even that good of a switching into Thundurus. He does have kind of a piss poor special defense stat, and Thundurus has an amazing special attack stat that actually has a chance to TKO him with Stealth Rocks up. I do have the U-turn, the Thunderbolt, and the Volt Switch, and the Hidden Power Ice. The Hidden Power Ice deals with all of his electric responses in the Rotom-Mow, Tyrantrum, and Crocodile. All of those get hit super effectively with the Hidden Power Ice. We do of course have the Volt Switch and the U-turn for momentum grabbing, and we do have the Thunderbolt for just general stab and damage, out damage dishing or whatever you're supposed to say. We do have the Choice Guard because Choice Guard Thundurus has a great matchup. I was thinking like an agility set, but just coming in, clicking Volt Switch or clicking U-turn is the name of the game with Thundurus. You just want to come in and smack something or get momentum on them. So yeah, having a revenge kill to make a Beedrill, to something like a Scarf Crocodile, to something like a Tornadus Therian will be awesome if I don't want to switch into my Mega Reductive, that is. And Thundurus in general deals with Tornadus quite well. I've used Tornadus a lot, so I know how little it can actually do to a Thundurus, especially with some bulky investments. Of course, this is not quite bulky, but you know, I can switch in on the Hurricanes, the U-turns, and the Heat Waves pretty comfortably and just force it out with a Volt Switch. And last but not least will be my Cobalion. Good old Harmony coming back to the team, ready to support it, ready to grab some momentum with a Volt Switch, ready to taunt my opponent, tell your mama jokes or whatever, and just close comment the living shit out of everything else. Now, originally I did have the Kyurem Black over the Cobalion. As you can see, I actually opted not to bring the Kyurem Black, which is kind of surprising. At least a surprise to me, because you know I love Kyurem Black. I always tend to bring it in some way or another, but I actually opted to not bring the Kyurem Black because I felt like all the other 5 members were so crucial. I needed to bring them. And the last plot was a little bit up in the air, but I opted to bring the Cobalion mainly due to the Tyrantrum and how big of a threat Tyrantrum actually is. This is mainly my, if I don't want to bring Stunfisk of course, this is my head smash switch in. And, you know, if I did bring the Kyurem, then all of my things would be hit super effectively or neutral with the head smash, so I had to bring Cobalion in order for it to stop, in order for just Tyrantrum to go ham on me. And of course I needed Stealthrox and I didn't want to put Stealthrox on the Mega Doctor, so that's kind of a win-win situation. Stealthrox is going to be awesome. He does have a hard time dealing with them, as I said in the matchup. Sugarberry is awesome if I want to check a Scarf Tyrantrum offensively, or if he predicts my Cobalion to come in, I can always tank a super effective hit, or at least a ground super effective hit. I'm not too sure about like a Flareon super effective hit or something like that, but at least I am safe with the ground type. Ground types are also in Mega Beedrill's arsenal if you want to run Drill Run. Scarf Crocodile is now checked, because, you know, he can't lock himself into Earthquake or Knockoff this week, my team, which is quite good. And, you know, Tyrantrum Earthquake is the main name of the game, of course, as I mentioned before. Taunt is there to stop Stealthrox from going up from the Fortress. Volt Switch is to grab momentum. Close Combat hits his team. It's kind of hard. I'm not going to say super hard, but, well, a little bit hard. And the EV spread is really simple because I didn't actually find anything that I wanted to tank. I just knew I wanted to have a certain amount of speed. So the box on the right might seem a little bit empty, but that's just because Cobalion was just kind of a filler Pokemon. Didn't really need it for anything in particular. Just get out rocks, prevent rocks, and just close combat something. But yeah, that's actually going to be the team for my week 1 opponent, Isaac, and his Solaceon Glaceon. The battle will go up tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, hope you're excited, hope you support your Mences, and that'll be all for this time. Hope you like your team. Leave your comments down below what you thought of my brings, and yeah, that's gonna be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see all of you tomorrow. Goodbye.